Hey guys, welcome to this week's Random Facts. So this week's Random Facts are going to be about Christmas. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Grinch, a not so nice and grumpy creature who tries to stop Christmas because he gets annoyed with all of the celebrations going on down in Whoville. So the Grinch was a storybook character created by Dr. Seuss. But the Grinch isn't the only nasty creature to appear around Christmas time. Many countries around the world also have their versions of the Grinch. However, these creatures are much more creepy and definitely scarier. So, today's random facts are about some of the scary creatures that haunt the cold, dark nights and strike fear into children around the world. These stories and myths were used to encourage children to be good. Those that didn't behave were punished by one of these monsters. Most of these come from early European myths and fairy tales, many of which have been around long before Christmas. Be aware, some of these stories aren't for the faint of heart. Some of them are a little scary. All right, so let's take a journey down the rabbit hole for some creepy creatures who will definitely make you think twice before being naughty this season. Join me, won't you? So here is our first Christmas monster. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of this fella before. I'm talking about the Krampus. So Santa's European counterpart and earliest incarnation, St. Nicholas, brings something other than just presents to your house. He brings along a demonic sidekick, Krampus. While the good children get gifts from St. Nicholas, Krampus wears chains, leaves the coal as gifts, and whips unruly children with birch reeds, carrying off the really bad ones in his wicker basket so he can drown, eat, or literally send them to hell. Field trip! Anyway, Krampus night is celebrated on December 5th. That's tomorrow night. The eve of St. Nicholas Day in Austria and other parts of Europe. Public celebrations that night have many Krampuses walking the streets looking for people to beat. In recent years, the tradition has spread beyond Europe, and many cities in America actually have their own Krampus nights now. In case you're wondering what the Krampus looks like, let me pull up a picture. And here he is in all his glory. This is actually a German Christmas card from the early 1900s. And at the top it says, I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, Gruß von Krampus, which actually translates to greetings from Krampus. Little on the creepy side, but whatever. All right, next up on our list, Marie Lloyd, the Christmas zombie horse. This macabre skeleton mare of Welsh tradition rises from the dead and wanders the streets with her attendants, who are also fresh from the grave, to remind the living of their existence. Marie Lloyd has only one goal in mind: to get into your house. To keep the zombie horse out, you must engage in a battle of wits. In rhyme, no less, usually on New Year's Eve, where the undead mare is represented by a puppeteer parading a horse skull on a pole draped in white cloth. Welsh revelers dress up as this creepy pantomime by hoisting a horse skull upon a stick and covering its bearers with a white sheet. The wraith-like equine walks the dark streets with the costumed owner to bother neighbors for free grub and alcohol. Now, let's see a picture of what Marie Lloyd looks like. And here she is in all her glory. I don't know about y'all, but that thing is the stuff of nightmares. Ooh, creepy. Time for our next scary Christmas monster. This is Fraupercha. So on New Year's Eve, Perchta roams the earth, rewarding those who are hardworking and generous and punishing the idle and greedy. She's obsessed with cleanliness and proper manners and leaves obedient children silver coins in their pails, and her punishment for naughty children involves slashing open your stomach so she may violently rip out your intestines, which are replaced by straw, rocks, and garbage. Ew. Her reputation ranges from sweet to sadistic, but she's always described as a goddess, either a beautiful one with a snow-white skin or a wrinkled old hag with a hook nose and raggedy clothes. She also always has a giant foot that either comes from her endless days working the foot pedals of spinning wheels or from her ability to shapeshift into a goose. Okay. In fact, she's actually the legendary inspiration behind Mother Goose, although she's not all lullabies and fairy tales. So this story is brought to us from Germany and Austria. Now, not only do the Germans and Austrians have to handle Fraupercha, they also have to handle the Stragelle. In many places, such as Switzerland, Perchta rides with a throng of demonic-looking helpers, known as Stragelle, I think I'm pronouncing that right, who love to partake of the feast offerings left out for them on Christmas by people hoping for Perchta's blessings of wealth and health in the new year. In some places, the Stragelle get to dole out the punishments themselves and aren't terribly discerning as they rob all bad children and tear them to pieces in the air. Okay, the last part of this myth, of this Christmas monster. She's known in other parts of the world as La Befana and Babushka. So in Italy, Russia, and parts of Eastern Europe, we encounter a witch-like lady rooted in the fairy tale figure of Mother Holle, who doles out punishments for the lazy and riches for the hardworking. In Italy, she is known as La Befana, and in Russia, Babushka. Each January, she packs up and sets off on a broomstick to join the three kings who are also seeking the Christ child. She searches every house, and if she finds a child there, she leaves gifts and cookies behind. Let's see what she looks like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is one of her forms, the beautiful young woman form. And then that's her next form, the old hag with the crooked nose. And in case you were wondering what the Stragelle look like, there you go. Little bit, kind of look like orcs from Lord of the Rings, but still, I don't think I'd want to see those in a dark forest. Just saying. So our next spooky Christmas fella comes from Scandinavia. A creature from Scandinavian folklore who bears a resemblance to a gnome and lives among the dead inside burial mounds, the Taunton acts as a caretaker, protector, and helper of the household. Just don't make him mad. Don't let looks deceive you. He might look like a cute little gnome, but you will not want to mess with him. Not only does he possess immense strength, but he does not mess around. He's easily offended, and if you cross him, if you're lucky, you'll get a hard strike to the ear. Otherwise, he might kill your livestock, beat you half to death, drive you insane, or kill you with his poisonous bite. But if you treat him well, he'll protect your household. This is one guy you'll always want on your side. The Taunton has quite the temper and is known for driving people insane with his tricks or biting them. You would be well advised to leave a gift of food out on Christmas Eve for this little fella. And let's see what he looks like. Oh, he looks like an adorable little fella, doesn't he? I don't know though, like they said, he might be a little on the nasty side. All right, so our next spooky dude is the Bell Snickle. This fella is another one of German Santa's creepy friends. Dude, Santa really needs to find some new friends. I mean, just saying. In some German and Pennsylvania Dutch communities, Belsnickel shows up a couple of weeks before Christmas, filthy and dressed in rags and furs to beat the children who have misbehaved, but he doesn't particularly care whether or not you've been good. We kind of sensing a theme here. Seems like an awful lot of kids, if they get in trouble, they get beat up or even worse. Okay. He has a sack of treats that he'll spill out for the kids, but as they scramble for the gifts, he whips them with a switch, naughty and nice alike. That's just not cool. What a jerk. Back in the 19th century, it was popular for rowdy revelers to go bell snicking and get drunk, vandalize the city, and just generally create shenanigans. Let's see what a bell snickle looks like. All right, guys, I don't know about y'all, but that's somebody else I wouldn't want to see in a dark forest. I mean, look at this guy. He's like got a switch. He's got a poor kid tied to the tree, and he's beating him. And then this other kind of version of him, I can't even. I mean, oh my goodness, creepy. So next up, we have a couple of French monsters. First one is Pere Foutard. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. Pere Foutard made his first appearance in 1150 in France. In French, Pere Foutard literally translates to Father Whipper. His gruesome origin story involves him drugging and slitting the throats of 3 wealthy children who stayed at his inn. He later dismembered and stewed them in large barrels until St. Nicholas came around, discovered his deeds, and resurrected the kids, compelling Foutard to repent and become his helper. Now, dressed in dark robes, bound in chains, covered in soot, and sporting a scraggly mess of hair and a beard, Foutard helps out on St. Nicholas Day, December 6th, by giving lumps of coal and severe whippings to naughty kids. I mean, really, again, sensing a theme here. They liked to beat kids back then. He puts the extra bad ones in the wicker cage on his back, probably to slaughter them and turn them into stew. So remember, kids, behave. Our next French monster is Hans Trapp. Hans Trapp is another anti-Santa who hands out punishment to bad children in the Alsace-Lorraine regions of France. The legend says that Trapp was a real man, a rich, greedy, and evil man who worshiped Satan and was excommunicated from the Catholic Church. He was exiled into the forest, where he preyed upon children disguised as a scarecrow with straw jutting out from his clothing. He was about to eat one boy he captured when he was struck by lightning and killed. Dang. A punishment of his own from God. Still, he visits young children before Christmas, dressed as a scarecrow, to scare them into good behavior. These are getting pretty dark, if you ask me. Now, let's see what these two look like. All right, so our first fella, Pere Foutard, kind of looks like a little jolly fella. He's got his bell, his toys, but those are probably kids in his backpack. Next, be prepared for this one. This is Hans Trapp. Spooky fella, dressed is a scarecrow so he can take little kids. This, I don't know. This is getting creepy. All right, guys, we've come down to our last group of scaries, and I think I've saved the best for last. All right, first one, Gryla. She comes to us from Iceland. She's one of Iceland's most renowned figures associated with Christmas. Gryla is a giant troll who is in a perpetual bad mood due to her insatiable hunger for children. Each Christmas, Gryla comes down from her mountain dwelling to hunt for naughty children. Again. She places them in a sack and drags them back to her cave where she boils them alive for her favorite stew. Oh, by the way, she has 13 sons, the Yule lads. And they're up next. The 13 sons of Gryla, the Yule lads, are each known for a particular habit or characteristic, much like the Disney version of Snow White's Seven Dwarfs. Most of them are depicted as mischievous pranksters and petty criminals. Icelandic children are visited each night on the 13 days leading up to Christmas by a different Yule lad, including such charmers as, wait for it, sheep coat clog, a peg-leg fellow that likes to bother sheep, gully hawk, who hides out in ditches or gullies and waits for an opportune moment to run into the cowshed and lick the foam off the milk in the milking buckets. Stubby, whose name denotes his stature as he is unusually short. Spoon licker, a licker and a thief of spoons. Pot scraper, who is a petty thief of leftovers. Oh, rude. Bowl licker, who hides under your bed and waits for you to absent-mindedly put down your bowl so he can steal it and, yes, lick it. Door slammer, who slams doors all night. Skyr gobbler, who eats skyr yogurt. Sausage swiper, who steals sausage. Window peeper, who watches you from the windows. Creepy. The next one. Doorway sniffer, who uses his incredibly large nose to sniff through doors to find bread. And then there's meat hook, who always brings a hook along with him so he can steal meat. And last but not least, candle stealer, who follows children around so he can steal their candles, leaving them in the dark. When not stealing food or bothering livestock, the Yule lads leave gifts or rotten potatoes in children's shoes, depending on how good the kids have been. In other versions, they just kill the kids. Isn't that just dandy? It gets better. Gryla and the Yule kids also have the Yule cat, or the Jolakotrin. The pet of both Gryla and the Yule lads, the Yule cat's prey consists of both children and adults. Unlike the other Christmas monsters, this cat does not care about your misdeeds during the year. Ouch. The only insurance against being torn apart and eaten by this giant feline is receiving an article of new clothing for Christmas. So basically, if you're not wearing new clothes, the kitty cat gets you. So shop wisely. In alternate versions of the story, the Yule cat just eats people's food, which is totally something a cat would do. Let's see these lovelies, shall we? And here we go. This lovely lady is the lovely Gryla. She's even got hoofs for feet. Let's meet the Yule lads, shall we? They don't look too bad. I don't know. I still wouldn't want to mess with them. All right, guys, get ready for this. Let's see the Yule cat. Meow. That's a pretty big kitty. That is another thing that's the stuff of nightmares. How about that? So let that be a lesson to you, children. Just behave. Well, I don't know about you, but those stories scared the caca out of me. Pretty demented stories, if you ask me. My German ancestors were pretty dark. There was a few of those stories from Germany. I couldn't imagine being a kid back then. I would never have slept. You can guarantee I would have always been on my best behavior if I had those fellas to scare me. So I hope you guys enjoyed these creepy wintertime monsters that have been striking fear into the hearts of children for centuries. Remember, the next time you feel like being naughty, Santa's not the only one watching. All right. And now, this time I'm going to leave you with a joke or two. Here's the first one. Mom, what did you do at school today? Kid, we played a guessing game. Mom, I thought you had a math test. Kid, exactly. All right. What has 4 wheels and flies? Not sure. A trash truck. 4 wheels and flies. Get it? Okay, I'm sorry. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. All right. Excuse me. What do you get if you cross a pine tree with an apple? Come on, you should know the answer to this one. A pineapple. And then if you put a pen in it, you now have a pineapple pen. I'm so sorry. I'll see myself out. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And remember, Santa's not the only one watching. Bye.